Hey everyone, I'm Jacob,
I'm Aria.
And I'm Monica.
and for our first Saratoga Speaks episode of the season, we have a very special guest who is none other than our Saratoga Mayor, Tina Walia.
Tina Walia was elected into the Saratoga City Council in November 2020 and served as vice mayor for 1 year before being named mayor in December 2021.
Great to have you here, Mayor Walia. How are you doing today, and can you give us a brief introduction of yourself?
Thank you so much, everyone. Hello. Thank you for having me here today. I'm super excited. As you mentioned, I am Tina Walia, the current mayor of the city of Saratoga, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Again, thank you so much for joining us today, and we are super excited to get to know you a bit better. So our first question is, what inspired you to run for city council?
You know, my top priority in running for the city council was to prioritize community engagement. And I am so proud we have seen a very dramatic increase so far. I was prepared for this through my experience serving on Saratoga's Planning Commission for 10 years, twice as chair. And before that, community service has always been very important to me. I've done so in numerous roles in the extended Bay Area. I have been a volunteer advisory board member and the training committee chair at the Tech Museum. I was also a Stanford health education organizer. I was a volunteer for the adult literacy program of the city of Santa Clara. All these valuable and rewarding experiences have propelled me to find ways to engage with and serve the community. Public service is very, very dear to my heart.
As you and Aria mentioned, you were elected to the council in 2020. Have you experienced any surprises serving on the city council that you didn't expect?
You know, talking of community engagement and wanting it, I have still been pleasantly surprised to see the unprecedented levels of community engagement and public comments we have received, especially for the housing element update process, which is a very critical, important topic in Saratoga.
Right. So, as you mentioned, volunteering is a really rewarding experience. So, for you specifically, what joys have you experienced in your service?
My biggest joy has been the opportunity to work with teens on the Youth Commission. You know, 10 plus years, I served the city as a volunteer, but I never had the opportunity to work with the teens. So this truly stands out for me above every single thing else.
Now, on the other hand, what challenges have you experienced in your service?
Oh, it's going back to community engagement. Having unprecedented levels of community engagement, the residents present many different perspectives. That can be a challenge because my job is to balance those all and to try to find a compromise which is in the best interest of the whole community of Saratoga.
Really clear that you're focused on the well-being of members of the community here in Saratoga. What are some things that you hope to accomplish?
For me, being the mayor of Saratoga is a responsibility that I take very seriously. And I also take great pride in representing this wonderful community, this wonderful diverse community of Saratoga residents and businesses. I am committed to continuing the work to make participating in Saratoga's local government accessible to all the residents by expanding our outreach and engagement efforts. A few things that are very important are keeping the safety of Saratogans in mind, being fiscally responsible, and to maintain our neighborhoods and open spaces to the best extent possible in Saratoga. This is what we all Saratogans care about. And the way to do that is to successfully work together as a council that works as a team in a collaborative manner to serve the public of the city. I can give you an example for the safety. Recently, the council passed a pilot program for the ALPRs, which are the automated license plate readers. Regarding the budget process, we are shortly going to be starting developing the budget process for the upcoming fiscal year, which starts in July and runs through the end of June next year. So we'll be looking at both our capital improvement plan as well as our operating budget. So if you're interested, I would encourage you to participate in that process.
Right. So speaking of things which you want to accomplish as mayor, we all know that a big part of reaching a goal is to have as much outreach as possible. So what is the most effective way to garner attention or hold discussions that youth are passionate about?
You know, the Youth Commission plays such a key role in doing so many wonderful things for the community. You are engaged in your school, you're engaged on the Youth Commission, and I'm looking at three of you, Jacob, Arya, and Aniket, and the rest of your team on the Youth Commission. Stay engaged, talk to people. Even when you're not able to vote, remember that you are learning so much and you're spreading the information. You are serving the community. You are the voice of the community. The more knowledge you learn now, when in a few years' time, you'll be able to vote, you will be able to make an informed decision at that time. Currently, I look at your team as phenomenal ambassadors, not just for your peers, but for the whole community. Continue to share your ideas with the state representatives, write letters, send emails to the council, come and speak in council meetings. I certainly would encourage you to use the channels that you do, social media, Zoom, and whatever methods of communication you find suitable to reach out to an audience. And that's exactly what we do in Saratoga. We use multiple tools to access the community in ways that work for different segments of the population. And talking of youth, two names come to mind. There are teens who are not old enough to vote, but who've had massive impact at a global level. Think of Malala Yousafzai. Think of Greta Thunberg. They have not let youth stand in the way of bringing attention to issues or to influence change. Don't be afraid. Don't be intimidated. Ask questions and share with us what you think.
Now, as you continue through your agenda this year as mayor, are there any topics you're particularly interested in engaging Saratoga's youth about?
I would say join us, participate in anything and everything. I would actually like to ask you, would you like to share your thoughts and opinions with me now? What is it we are not looking at? What do you want us to focus on?
I think this is more of one of our focuses on the Youth Commission. So this year in the Youth Commission work plan, we identified building community as a key focus, actually possibly our main focus, leading us to participate in many community events such as tree lighting, celebration of light, as well as participating in the Scarecrow Challenge. So I think you mentioned this earlier, but I think it's just great that if we can just continue on building community, especially during this sort of situation with the pandemic.
Jacob, you make my day. That's exactly what this is all about, serving the community. That's why I am constantly talking about community engagement, reaching out, and doing our level best to serve the people. And you are our ambassadors. For me, Saratoga community starts with the youth, Then we have different age groups. And then we have the seniors. There's a wealth of knowledge that the seniors have. So I always turn to the seniors to listen and learn from their experiences. And I want to hear from you. Please reach out to me, call me, email me, send me ideas. They're all fabulous ideas. You know something that I won't know. So help me. Thank you.
Similar to last year, this year the Youth Commission and City Council are holding meetings virtually due to COVID-19. How do you think holding City Council meetings virtually has impacted the community?
Oh, I think it has made things easier for people. Just think of a school night. When you're at home and you may want to talk about an issue, which I encourage you to do, or think about your parents, and maybe you have a younger sibling, or maybe you have a grandmother who is not feeling well and needs some help. Or we have a senior. I have senior residents in my neighborhood who want to speak out on topics. For them to come and sit in the theater for a long time takes a lot more time and effort. This makes it much, much easier. We have seen unprecedented levels of community engagement, as I said earlier. Great turnout because of the convenience and flexibility. So much so that last year, the council adopted a policy to make virtual participation permanent going forward, even when we, the council and the commissions, end up meeting in person in City Hall. And we added this to something that was very close to me, and I had brought it forward, that we need to be recording all council meetings. There's a lot of good discussion that happens there. Community wants to have and should have the flexibility to look into that information at their convenience. So this is having virtual meetings accessible to all. The hybrid meetings, once we go live in person, will make that flexible and community accessibility. So I actually want to hear from you. What has your experience been like in having virtual meetings?
I do think that it offers a chance for us to be able to attend these meetings no matter where we are. So it gives us a lot of flexibility. At the same time, I do think that there is a certain difference between being in person, just at least for the Youth Commission, in terms of the level of engagement that we as a commission are able to reach within ourselves. Yeah, so I do think that there's some sort of difference in that. But hopefully when we go back to in person, we'll also still be able to carry on with part virtual, just at least so we are able to get more of an outreach. Because this year I've noticed that there are a lot more attendees than there have been in previous years, especially when I was trying to get into the commission. When I had to go to a couple of meetings, I didn't really notice that there were as many people. But this year, maybe it's just the time, but also I just think that there are more attendees in general listening to our conversations.
You make a very good point, Arya. In person, the level of communication is on so many multiple levels, and we all do so much better with that. Completely agree with you. But technology has helped us stay safe through all these difficult times in the COVID timeframe. And so living in Silicon Valley, having this technology available, being able to meet virtually, and keep on moving through the COVID difficult times and maintaining the city running and having our business happen is just wonderful.
Yeah, so with COVID-19, a lot of local businesses have been affected, and we've been really glad to see that a lot of our members have come together to help out. How has the city supported local businesses during the COVID-19 pandemic?
You ask a very good question. You know, these have been challenging times. The local businesses have been impacted. The city has tried to help out in numerous ways. The city was able to install parklets along the Big Basin Way in the village. City Council allocated $95,000 for this program. And you see the outdoor dining space for downtown restaurants with no rental cost for the businesses. And we have to thank the Saratoga Chamber of Commerce. They have been critical, instrumental in working with the city as well as the businesses to get the parklets installed, adopted, and above all, you may not know, but Big Basin Way is part of a state highway. So we needed Caltrain's approval to get the encroachment permit before these parklets could be installed. And the good thing is we have helped the local businesses with this, as well as the community is so appreciative that they are able to go out to these restaurants and use that area. And I want to share a good news with you. The Caltrans has given an extension to the encroachment permit through the end of December 2022. In addition, last year, the City Council also approved Saratoga Together business grants to help the local businesses recover and move forward from the pandemic. The merchants have been utilizing this grant to help enhance their businesses' facades.
Now, for our generation specifically, climate change is something that comes up a lot in conversation. And now, because our episodes are aimed at everyone, but specifically the youth, can you explain what the Climate Action Plan is and what exactly does it do?
Climate Action Plan. It's a roadmap which has specific strategies to reduce greenhouse gases. Saratoga's first full Climate Action Plan was adopted in December of 2020. The state of California has encouraged all local governments to reduce their community emissions 40% below 1990 levels by the year 2030. Saratoga's Climate Action Plan will help focus on activities that reduce the greatest amount of emissions in the most cost-effective way. You know, before this complete full Climate Action Plan in the year 2020, Saratoga had worked on a city's municipal operations climate action plan. And 12 years ago, before I joined the Planning Commission as a resident, I volunteered to work on that document. I worked with the neighboring cities to see where they were in the process of their climate action plan and what their strategies were. So we in Saratoga could think about prioritizing working on this document. And I was super thrilled when we had our first document completed a year and a half ago. And if the Youth Commission or anyone else watching is interested in learning more about this subject, please visit the city's website to find out more details.
Great to hear that the city is taking action to address climate change. Another group that is trying to help is Silicon Valley Clean Energy. Personally, I didn't know a lot about them before last year. So what is Silicon Valley Clean Energy? Who are they? And how do they impact us as Saratoga residents?
Silicon Valley Clean Energy is a local community-owned company that provides electricity using renewable sources, electricity generated in a sustainable manner. For example, using solar, wind, and water power. Silicon Valley Clean Energy, or SVCE, or sometimes we just call it Clean Energy locally, it serves the Saratoga community as well as so many other communities, cities in Santa Clara County. I serve on the SVCE board, and I'm very passionate about their efforts. I see the impact this organization is bringing to the clean energy team and to the community. I see and meet council members from the different jurisdictions around the Bay Area, and we all work together and learn from each other to support this cause. And I want to share something else with you. Silicon Valley Clean Energy is inviting local students to share their stories and solutions to fight climate change for $20,000 in scholarship awards. The competition opens in March. Students will have 2 months to create and submit a film that captures their vision of a clean energy future. For more details, email me or check out their website. This is something just up your alley, and spread the word.
We will try to do that. Thank you for sharing all of that. To close up our episode, we want to ask you some less serious questions to get to know you a bit better. A question that we're really curious to hear about is, what were the biggest issues facing your generation during your youth?
So for those who don't know this, I grew up in India and I moved to the US after I had been working as an architect in India. So after my undergrad degree. You know, when I grew up in India, life was, I believe, much simpler. I do feel like the youth today are facing tougher challenges. I had a lovely childhood. I have very fond memories of my childhood. And I've seen a lot of change happen in life in general. I do recall experiencing some gender differences, not all bad, just some differences. For those days, I was a very curious and strong-minded girl for that time. But I was very lucky to have excellent teachers who never let me feel the difference in terms of my curiosity or the gender or anything like that. I also come from a family where we had very strong women, and my parents' generation was the first generation of women that went to college. So I've been experiencing, seeing that shift generation to generation, and in different parts of the world.
I know we touched on your background a bit already, but more specifically, can you also tell us about your educational background and how it has helped you in your role on the city council?
So I mentioned that I worked as an architect in India. Then I came to the US. I continued practicing the same field. Then I went to grad school. I have an MBA and I have 2 master's degrees, one in architecture and the other in strategic management. I've also taught strategic management at the university level. I have worked in the Bay Area in market analysis in the corporate world. All of this put together helped me with the volunteer experience I talked of earlier. All of this helped me tremendously serving as a planning commissioner in Saratoga. And the specific knowledge gained there in Saratoga is helping me every single day to serve on the city council.
Slay. Obviously, being on the planning commission has helped shape how you view what can help the city council. What has been the biggest difference in your experience on the planning commission and on the city council?
The fundamental difference between the 2 bodies and their roles. Very simply, city council writes policy for the community, while the planning commission implements that policy and makes recommendations to the council.
Now, lastly, we want to say one more congratulations for being the first South Asian as Saratoga's mayor. Now, what has your experience in politics been like as a woman of color, and have those personal factors impacted your political career and values?
You know, today we have 4 council women in Saratoga. We have had other women mayors, including Asian American mayors. I am so thankful to serve Saratoga, a community that values its diversity. It looks at its diversity as its strength, and I'm very fortunate and very honored to serve this community as its mayor. I don't typically like to talk about myself, but I would like to share a story from my childhood. It had an impact on me, and so I'd like to pass it along. When I was about 6 years old, growing up in India, we had a woman prime minister of India. That is the equivalent of president in US. So she was the leader of the country. And India being a democracy, that was quite something. So Mrs. Indira Gandhi was coming to a wedding in our neighborhood briefly. She was supposed to be there. And all the children in the neighborhood spent days preparing how they were going to go up to her, greet her, and talk to her or something. People were just excited. Well, when the day came, all of the children, especially the boys, were too nervous to go up to her and approach her. I was the only one who walked up, past her security, who tried to stop me, but Mrs. Gandhi extended her arm out, took my hand, she shook my hand, patted me on the back. That has stayed with me all my life. In that moment, I was able to see a woman as the leader of a country, of a large country, a democracy. I was not afraid. It left such an impression on me that if she could do it, any girl could do it. There is nothing stopping you. In Saratoga, as I mentioned earlier, I am so proud to have received the support from the full community when I ran for the city council. It was my work on the planning commission that spoke for itself, nothing else. So as I mentioned earlier, or touched upon it, I've seen this incredible shift in the role of women in our world. And I continue to see that change happen from generation to generation. When I think about my grandmother, who was born in 1902, she just about finished high school, could not go to college. Those were the times in India. She made sure all 6 daughters went to college. My grandmother was a trailblazer in our family, in the community. She led our family to break barriers. And my grandfather was an excellent partner, supporting her in doing that. So I have been very fortunate to have those family values instilled in me, seeing strong, unafraid women. These inspiring experiences remind me that when I have faced challenges or discrimination, I just go on. And that's what I encourage the youth of today. Nothing holds you back. Do what you want to do. Think of Greta. Think of Malala. You are the future.
Thank you. That's such a touching and inspiring story. What advice do you have for young residents like us who might be interested in further exploring politics, maybe even as a city commissioner, city council member, or mayor in the future?
Continue doing what you're doing now. As I said, speak up, attend meetings, write to us, share with us your ideas, share your thoughts, ask questions. And you know what? Expand your knowledge through avenues you may not be using right now. I am of the generation that grew up reading the newspapers. I still do that. For me, I have to put in the time and effort for social media. For your generation, it may be the reverse. Go to the libraries, read the newspapers, talk with the previous generations, talk with the seniors. They are the living history and they have so much to share, how they have seen change happen. As I said, the torch goes from one generation to the next.
Now, for our final question, as you know, Valentine's Day was just a couple of weeks ago. So we're interested in hearing a little bit about what you love about Saratoga.
Oh, I just love Saratoga. Just love Saratoga. I love spending time in the village. I think of the village gardeners who have been volunteering their time and services on a weekly basis to beautify the downtown for, I think, 17 years. It's a long time. I also love Montalvo Arts Center. As an artist and as an architect, I have a deep appreciation for that place. The historic architecture, the pristine grounds, the trails, they have such community events. Then we have Hakone Gardens, the oldest Japanese-style residential garden in North America. A true historic gem right here in Saratoga. We have all these wonderful parks, neighborhood parks spread all over the city. And you know what ties all this together? Our diverse community that we talked of earlier. These characteristics of the diversity in our cultures, in our neighborhoods, the uniqueness there, as well as our varying perspectives, the passion people have for advocating for causes they believe in. This is what I absolutely love about Saratoga. And I truly believe in engaging in productive, respectful dialogue that Saratogans love to do so that we as a community can continue to be happy where we are and do the best for our community that we all call home. For me, Saratoga has been home for 20 plus years. You mentioned February being Valentine's Day month. And some of this I have talked of in a column in February's Saratoga Spotlight article. And I want to share with you that the March Spotlight article, I chose to focus on the Youth Commission and all of the incredible work you are doing. So watch out for that when that comes to your home.
Right. Thank you so much, Mayor Walia, for joining us today. We know you've been working extremely hard, and we look forward to seeing all that you accomplish. To close up, is there anything else that you want to add that's coming up in Saratoga?
I would like to say thank you so much for having me here. Thank you for your time. And if you're a teen and you're watching this, or you know a teen, I would love for you to apply to serve on Saratoga's Youth Commission. Our city's website has all the details. And I would like to say thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Arya. Thank you, Aniket. And thank you, the rest of the Youth Commission, for all your fabulous work in our community. You are the leaders of today. You are the leaders of tomorrow. And seeing the incredible work you're doing, I am confident that we are in good hands. Thank you.
Thank you again, Mayor Walia, and everyone watching. Please make sure to check out our next videos where we'll be talking about topics like cryptocurrency and the changing medical industry. Again, thank you so much, Mayor Walia, for joining in with us today.
My pleasure.